and even wondered if it was cursed somehow. There wasn't very much about it to like. We didn't have many friends on the street either, and I mostly blame my mother for that. She was always dirty, swore about everything, constantly telling people where to get off, and she would scream at random passers-by with a, "What the hell are you looking at? Want a picture?" Seriously, it was dead set embarrassing, and I hated her for it. Our family had gotten a really bad name in the neighborhood too, for other reasons. Almost daily, she would send us kids up the street to borrow something from one of the neighbors. Most money for fags, sometimes food, and once I had to go and ask for a Dr. White's panty pad. The Neanderthal neighbor that I actually asked got his equally grotty wife to come out, and she decided it would be really funny to get a used one out of the bin and chuck it at me. Not only was it disgusting, but I felt insanely embarrassed. I left it where it fell, feeling ashamed and hating my family even more. Humiliated, I trudged home empty-handed, and the smack I got for not trying hard enough was far less punishment than all the inevitable insults that got hurled at me from the fat grots for the rest of the week. They weren't going to let that go in a hurry. I hated how everyone saw us and despised the multitude of horrible names we were called because we were always out scrounging for something. We were always hungry. Many times we had little to no food in the house, and on several occasions we just got to eat white bread with margarine or jam. And even when the bread had mold on it, you just scraped it off and you ate it anyway. I don't know where they came from, but sometimes we had baked beans which were heated and put on top of a slice of often times stale bread. Or if we had a fire and it was going, we could hold the bread at the end of the fork in front of the flames. Sadly, those times were both good and bad because quite often they caused arguments as to who had more beans and who. Such behaviour, of course, was met always with a smack of some sort, followed by mother saying, "Want, want, want, you fucking kids are never happy." And that would be it. We'd not have them again for a while. We cooked a lot of things in the pan on the fire because the gas was always cut off. We had a meter in the shed that you had to put money in, and if you didn't, then your gas supply was shut off. I remember one day seeing my mother on her hands and knees with a knife in her hand, breaking into it and getting the money out. Seeing me there, she hissed at me to keep my kin mouth shut, which I remember thinking was stupid because the meter man would be calling around to see the empty box and find it empty and broken would know anyway. Whatever, I walked away. That's another excerpt from Making Broken Beautiful, page 28. And this week our series is on Making Broken Beautiful. Rather than existing by default, I want you to live life by your own design. And this series is all about living in intentionally. And today's topic is about scarcity and poverty. So if you have or ever, some of these things that I'm reading them really just get to me and they remind me. So if you have or have ever struggled with poverty or are still struggling with it, how is it impacting you? Because everything we've ever been exposed to, everything we've ever seen, heard, or had happened to us has conditioned us in some way. And we get clues about that unconscious programming and conditioning by the way we react to people and situations and things around us. So throughout my 40 years of coaching, I've been asked many questions on this, and each question sent me on this journey of self-discovery. And I want to share those questions for you, and I've recreated them in a worksheet which you can access at the end of this show today. And one of the biggest things is people are always asking me is how growing up in poverty and scarcity affected my life. And it was tough, and sometimes I hated it. I was always ashamed at school, ashamed of my parents, ashamed of how we lived, what we did and didn't have. All the kids had all these trendy things and good things, and we were scroungers. We were always borrowing things and getting things from jumble sales and wearing the same clothes over and over. But I was never going to use any of that to make an excuse as why I couldn't succeed in my life. Because I chose very early on to take control of what I wanted for my future. And I saw what other people had. And I knew that if they could have it, I could have it too. So no matter what challenges we face, you can be determined to have a better life. And I wanted that for myself and my family. And I knew someday deep inside I was never going to give up on myself and I would make it out of poverty. And I did. It took a while and it took a lot of work, but I did. But it wasn't without its challenges, obviously. I've been asked is about anxiety and depression. How did I get past those feelings of hurt and sadness? And it was that was a challenge. Okay, I had to rely on school meals for food, wearing the same clothes day in, day out, and not even be able to wear the right clothes. Even for sport, we had to go through the lost property box and find something to wear. And obviously that was humiliating, and that made it stressful. And I got bullied, but we're doing bullying tomorrow, so I'll talk about that then. But I can honestly say I've never struggled with anxiety and depression because I knew deep down that none of this was my doing. I was looking at my parents and comparing them to friends on the, that were uptown friends, like a boyfriend I started seeing when I was 15, uptown boy, and I was downtown girl. Mine were downright lazy and uneducated and negative. And that negative impact impacted nearly, actually, mostly by how other people treated me. They judged me because I was from a rough government housing estate and not being treated with kindness, even though I was super polite. Okay, I was a kid from the wrong side of the tracks. And it wasn't so much what I felt about me, it's how other people treated me because of where I've come from. And we judge people, right? And that impacted my sense of worthiness and my self-esteem more than anything else. Because I was particularly embarrassed by my mother, actually. She was such a foul-mouthed person. And she rarely washed. She slept on the couch and she smoked and swore at everything, as I said earlier. I'm waiting in line for school meals because they were government handouts. That was embarrassing and humiliating. And teachers humiliate you at school. I was always one that's chosen for any sports, which was actually quite ironic because in my later 20s, I went on to play rep netball just to prove I could. And I still did it in my 50s. I was told by a young lady once that I was playing against that I was faster an old lady. She was 17. I think I was in my 40s, and then I'm in my 50s. So I learned how to pick myself up after getting knocked down. And so if you've grown up in any kind of poverty and you can relate to any of this, and you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear what you have to share. Share with me in the comments that, how did you overcome obstacles? I know I watched other people. I saw that if they had it, I could have it too. And I never got jealous of it. I just wanted to work out in my head how they got it. I tell a funny story. There was a family next door who come by some money. I can't tell you their name, obviously. But they bought all these sorts of cool toys. Like that. I don't know if any of you would remember these round space hoppers with the ears on, and you could bounce around on them. And they also had some of these stilts. And I wanted some of those stilts so bad. My brother and I went and made some. We went and got some like pieces of wood and that we'd ripped off from the farmer's fence behind our house, and we got some baked bean tins, and we because we pulled the fence palings off, we got the nails out, and we used another piece of wood to bang these baked bean tins on these pieces of sticks, and they were our rudimentary stilts. So you get resourceful, right? Instead of being jealous about what other people have and being mad at it because you don't have it, go and get it, go and make it happen, right? And that's what I did with so many things. And I have so many stories for that, but I know I've got to be mindful of time. So what else? Another question, what would I tell someone who's an adult struggling with poverty? So I want to tell you that your upbringing is not the sole predictor of your future success. No matter where you've come from, you can achieve anything you set your mind to, like I did. You just got to go, I want that. Now I'm going to go and get it. I don't know how, but I'm going to make it work. And your own efforts will make you capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. Yeah. And if this is where you find yourself, I want you to know that with determination and grit, you can overcome whatever stands in your way. And a little bit of luck chucked in too. I'm still hoping my story, Making Broken Beautiful, this book, with a little bit of luck, it's now a screenplay. And with a little bit of luck, someone's going to come along and go, that's a decent story, and they will make it into a real film, because people judge you. And it went off to one producer. I'll tell you something else. It went off to another producer, and they were like, oh, the violence is too much. Here we're a feel-good producer. They didn't want to write about something real. And it's like, but it was a real, lots of people that come from where I came from grew up with violence and grew up with poverty and scarcity. So we might have to work a little bit harder than people that come from wealthier backgrounds. But that, you know what, that makes our success all the sweeter. So never give up on yourself. Like I rely on this thing that I used to call the Underdog Reward. And as a young girl, because of where I came from and nobody thought anything of me, I wasn't a threat. Big mistake. Because they wrote me off so easily. That just drove me to succeed bigger and better than anyone else. And I had nothing to lose. I was a nobody. And if you've grown up in poverty or adversity, I want you to do that too. I want you to get that underdog reward happening, blindside them when they're not expecting it. Now, I'm not sure if how many is listening or who's listening out there, but wherever you are and wherever you're tuning in from, give me a note, drop me a message, say hi, and like I said, get back to this, blindside those people. Woohoo! Yeah, woohoo! Because you deserve nothing less, right? You have everything it takes to make a difference in this world. So never give up and always keep fighting. And then another question I was always asked was, what advice would you give to a young person who is growing up in poverty now? And I would just tell them, you know what? It's tough growing up in poverty. You can feel like you're stuck in a rut and there's no way out. And it's easy to believe that that really is the sole predictor of your future success. And I know for several people that I grew up with, that's actually been the case. But it doesn't have to be. It wasn't true for me because I decided it wasn't going to be, and it doesn't have to be true for you either. Your upbringing doesn't have to define your future. And you hear it all the time, but you really can do anything you set your mind to, regardless. And I'm living proof of that. And there's so many things that I haven't shared, and there's some things in my book that are quite horrible, but they're real. And because I made sure I didn't put anything in there that wasn't. And I know that you can do the same. People who come from humble beginnings, you can, change your perception about themselves. Everyone I've worked with in my practice that's come in, they've decided they wanted more and to achieve more, and they've gone on to do just that. And I help them see past their circumstances, that it doesn't have to shape you in any way or form or dictate your destiny. And I've helped them to use it as motivation and determination to push yourselves harder and reach for your dreams, and you can too. Okay, so the last question I want to share with you that I've often been asked is, and this is a tough one, so you might get a bit mad about this, but it's like, what are the benefits of growing up in poverty? Okay, what do you think the benefits of growing up in poverty are? And how do I want to share that with you? I believe there's some great benefits. Okay, I believe that poverty taught me humility and resilience. And I very quickly learned how to pick myself up after being knocked down despite what was going on, as I said earlier. But I also think that growing up in poverty forces people to get creative and resourceful, like I did with the stilts. I didn't get jealous about what they had and I didn't have. I just went, okay, well, how can I get that? And I stepped on the beach in Mexico when I was surfing and competing for the world titles. And we didn't have cups, so I used the yogurt cartons, and it didn't bother me one bit, right? And if you don't have access to money or resources, you learn to find different ways to get things done. And I'll share something else with you. All the girls at school had these really nicely pleated skirts. And mine, we obviously didn't have an iron or anything. That was a bit fancy. So I used to wash my skirt, and then I'd get books or bricks or anything I could, and I'd fold the skirt up and put it in little piles and put the bricks on top so that they kept the creases. I mean, they weren't the the sharpest of creases, but they were still pleated to some degree. Okay, so being resourceful and resilient, they're valuable things, and that will help you bounce back with anything in your life when the going gets tough. And you can give yourself a better chance to achieve that success in later life if you just pull on your resources. I mean, and I know that not everyone who grows up in poverty is going to grow up to be successful, but I do believe that every single one of us and every single one of you has the potential to overcome any obstacles you face. With the right support and resources, I believe you can find any success you want in life, whether it's a little bit of success or a massive success. And the degree of success you have is relatable to what you think you can have and what you think you're worth, and it doesn't matter whether you succeed or fail or how many times you fail. I've failed more times than I've succeeded in certain areas of my life. But I've also learned how to make the most out of life. I've learned to turn every situation and go, okay, what did I need that for? What did I just learn from that? And every lesson for me is growth. Whether it's a failure or a success, I grow one way or the other. So much so that very little bothers me now. Although, except for people that make mountains out of molehills. And when I was in Vietnam, there was a lady complaining about how the Vietnamese had cooked her eggs. And there was people sleeping in alleyways with like tarpaulins over the top of from one building to another. And that was their home in the dirt. And we're in this 5-star luxury, and she's complaining about her eggs being cooked wrong. I couldn't get my head around it. It actually made me angry. And I said, lady, you need to have something real to worry about. So, and that's a whole nother story too. Share with you my holidays at some time. But I want you to know that you can refuse to let your early circumstances rule your present life, right? And I want you to refuse to give up yourself. I want to remind you that you're not your past. It does not have to define you. And you can be anything you want to be. You just got to stop thinking with that scarcity mindset. And so what if you didn't have it then? Make it happen now, right? Make a choice that if you're not where you want to be, then change your circumstances. You're not, no matter where you started, you're not responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for what you're doing with it now. And if you're being a victim, stop it. Just stop wasting your life that way. Stop waiting for someone else to make your life better. And get inspired by people who've risen from the ashes and rewrite your own story so you can have a better ending. Right? Choose what you want. No one's coming to do it for you. No one else is going to make it happen. Right? And I always believe that life happens for us, not to us. So we can understand who you are and what you're made of. And now you actually, because you've done all the hard work, if you're here listening to me, you've already done the hard work. So you've got all the tools. You've got the strength and you've got the resilience. So go after the tools. Go after what you want. You've got the tools. And today's worksheet shares some of those questions that I shared with you today. And I want you to fill them out and go on your own journey of self-discovery. Okay? Stop waiting. And stop waiting. Yes, that's it for me today. Stop waiting. Stop waiting. All right, that's it for me today. And tomorrow we're going to be addressing issues around bullying. So as always, thank you for being here. I'm super appreciative and grateful for your time. If you found it helpful and motivating, I would love you to share with others. And if you want to keep up to date with these latest trainings, join my online community and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My greatest wish, as always, is for you to be Mindfit so you can live your best life and live it with passion. Reset, be authentic, and be you. Bye for now. And here we have some comments. I was wondering if there's going to be some today. Hi, Tech Mother joining us from YouTube. Good morning, Coach Pamela. I nearly forgot to set an alarm, but my new body has gotten used to getting up at 2 a.m. for you for 15 minutes. So here I am. Thank you. So I really appreciate you getting up at that time. I really do. Hi, Tech Mother says, I know the feeling of scarcity mindset just way too well. It still seeps in now and then. It can if you let it, that's for sure. Hi, Tech Mother also says, we used to be wealthy, then life took a turn and we struggled. My father was brave, but my mother just made us feel like nothing will ever be better again. She made us feel like it was our fault. That's exactly what they do. August, thank you for joining us from LinkedIn, says, I think for me it's been easier because of my parents' mindfulness, but I know people who are always nervous about not having enough. There's always enough, August, isn't there? Hi, Tech Mother says, meeting my soulmate, my husband, my best friend helped me learn to think with an abundance mindset. I'd tell an adult today to look around at their achievements and also focus on what they can do. 100%. Yeah. Parker, good morning from LinkedIn, says, good morning, yet another powerful topic. Shared it in my network. Thank you, Parker. I appreciate you sharing that. Sebastian said, I did not know scarcity until a tragedy happened. Thankfully, one of the two best humans in my life has trained me to live content and yet ambitious. At times I've had a scarcity mindset, but mostly I overcome it because of my optimism and my determination. Thank you for joining us from LinkedIn, Sebastian. Also says, great topic, great delivery, bravo. Thank you so much. August says, loves today's episode. Thank you, August. Thank you. And Parker says, thanks for another great session, Pam. Thank you for joining us, Parker. I love you being here. Abdiraham from Facebook says, hi. Hi, I apologize if I said that wrong. Hi, Tech Mother says, your story is it does something to me. Thank you, High Tech Mother. Mark Sullivan says from YouTube, you have done so amazingly well to break your conditioning. Effort and grit. Thank you, Mark. Yes, I have. High Tech Mother, it's not how broken was the way you grew up, but who you have become. It makes you beautiful and inspiring. Oh, thank you very much, High Tech Mother. That's lovely. To me, it was them. You were on the wrong side because they did not learn to be kind. No. Sebastian says, I know that feeling, being the last chosen in anything in school. I almost did not exist or was a butt of everyone's joke. Yeah, I was humiliated beyond belief, made to stand up and do all sorts of stupid things. Hannah Smith from Facebook says, work. I thought of good ways I can work smart to make money and had 4 different little jobs by the time I was 12. That's fantastic. You're a powerhouse. Oh, Jin Swati. Hello, Jin from Facebook. Thank you for joining us. Sebastian. Oh, hell yeah. My parents created a whole empire after being an orphan by choice and homeless as a couple. The story is written by your choices, not by what we did not have. 100%. And what you didn't have can drive what you do have. Thank you, Mark Sullivan from Facebook as well. Fantastic message. Hannah Smith, build resilience. Yes, it sure does. And resourcefulness. 100%. And High Tech Mother says benefits. That's an interesting way to look at it. Well, I wouldn't be who I was without all of that programming and condition. I wouldn't be so determined and so motivated to share my message with everyone else and to have things that I want. And Junzuati says, Zawati. I don't know if I said that right. She'll kill me later, probably. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Sebastian says, 100, 100, 100. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. This is amazing. Thank you, guys. Director's comment. Great presentation, Pam. Slammed it. Dunk. Thank you.